It's now time for inspiration and thought exchange, brought to you by today's speaker. We invite everyone to address our assembly with words of inspiration, lessons learned, and or passionate ideas. Every opinion expressed here is strictly that of the person who gives it. Let us consciously and lovingly agree to disagree if it does not resonate with us. Okay, all right. The topic for today is the healing journey of our speaker. And she is a mom of 3, and her whole family's here today. And I'm so happy. She is an amazing girl. I can't wait for y'all to get to hear her and hear her story. And she is a hairdresser. And let's see. And she's going to tell you all about herself. So there's really nothing more to say because you're going to get to know her. And this is so much fun. Okay, so it's my pleasure to present Melissa Brunello. Here for you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Melissa. I am very excited to be here today and share with you my healing journey. So what you're going to learn today are 2 of my healing experience and what I personally have learned and how you too can also heal. So a little bit about me. I've been a hairstylist for about 32 years. And I also teach moms who have inflammatory bowel disease how to heal their gut, avoid painful flares, so they can live joyfully and eat all the foods they love again. I'm a mom of 3. These are my family, Ariana, my 2 sons, Charlie and Nino, and my husband, Chuck. And this is my boy, Carter. He's our 8-year-old standard poodle, and he's a huge part of our lives. Okay, so my first healing experience, I was 20 years old, and it was back in 1993. It was a couple years after I had graduated from high school, and I found myself not in a very good place. I was in an abusive relationship, and also coming from a family of control, some emotional abuse, and also suffering from anxiety and depression. So I became anorexic. It was the one thing that I was able to control. And I remember, feeling very, very angry. I had lots of anger. I was unhappy with myself. I was unhappy with everything around me. And I really didn't know what to do, but I definitely knew that I could no longer go on the way that I was. I never thought about suicide or anything, but I just knew that I didn't want to feel the way that I was feeling anymore. So my parents were divorced, and my dad lived close by. But because we didn't live together, he didn't really understand really what was going on with me. So I always looked up to my dad because my dad he's always very laid back. He never stresses about things, very even keel. And I thought, I'm going to go and have a talk with my dad and see, how he can help me or how I can be more like him. So I drove over to his house, and he and my stepmom, I sat down with them and I told them what was going on. And my dad told me that it was time for me to turn my problems over to God and let him handle everything. So I was like, okay, just tell me what I need to do and I'll do it. So I sat at a table with my stepmom and my dad, and I repeated this prayer that they were saying, and I was just repeating it word for word. And at the time of saying the prayer, we were holding hands, the three of us, and I felt this warm energy come into my body. And at the time, I really didn't understand what happened. But what I recognized, it was an amazing feeling. It was warm. I felt very peaceful. I felt love. And it wasn't really until the next couple days where I noticed like something was different. So even though I wanted to get better, I really wasn't ready to like not be anorexic anymore. But I like could not stop eating. Like I was eating uncontrollably, and I felt like there was like this force that was like almost like fighting against me. And like that was it. Like I never struggled with anorexia ever again. And I remember calling my dad. I'm like, you're not going to believe this. Like I'm still trying to be anorexic and I can't, like, and it was amazing. And again, I've never suffered from anorexia since. So what I learned from this experience were three things that transpired. So I had trust, going to my dad and, talking with him and my stepmom. And I was very open, and I allowed for whatever was going to take place to take place. And I was at a complete stage of surrender. So that's how I believe I came to that healing. So I do have another healing experience. This one is a little bit different than my first. I was 33 years old, and I was married, and I was working full time in a hair salon, and I was also starting a family. And it was around year 2006, and I got diagnosed with Crohn's disease. I was busy working. I was starting a family, and I was having, major stomach issues. My symptoms, I had stomach cramping, constipation, bloody stools, bloated, very, very fatigued. I remember, I really never thought anything of it. I grew up with a family, we're Italian, and my mom and my sisters always had stomach issues. They used to call it like stomach attacks, where, they would just have bouts of having, irritation with their stomach. So I thought, oh, well, I inherited this from my family. I'm just like everybody else. So never really expecting that there was an issue. So again, once I noticed that something was definitely wrong, went to the doctor, and, I had a colonoscopy. Again, not even thinking that there was anything wrong. My father-in-law actually was my driver, and he was like with me in my room. Like, this is how, again, like I had no idea that I was going to get diagnosed with Crohn's disease. So So I got the diagnosis, and again, completely shocked. I was like, how can this happen? So I was very confused. I was even angry. Like, why did this happen to me? Like, what did I do to deserve this? I felt very lost and alone, and I even was feeling embarrassed and almost ashamed because I was diagnosed with a disease. So the doctor wanted to put me on steroids, and he also wanted me to go on medications, which I did not go on steroids. I was very against that, but I did try medications at the beginning because I really didn't know what else to do. But immediately I started feeling some side effects of the medication, and I just said, you know what, this is not for me. I knew, like, deep down in my gut, that God built our bodies to heal. Plus, I had my first healing experience, so I was like, okay, well, I'm going to do this again, and it's going to happen again. So, I, and again, this is just my feeling. I'm not against medications, but it just wasn't. It wasn't for me. It wasn't my path. So my plan was, how I can avoid being on medications, how I can heal myself. I went to lots of different doctors. I went to acupuncturists. I went to chiropractors. I was on vitamin supplements. I felt like that was a job in itself. I remember having timers on my phone throughout, working, just trying to keep track of staying on all of my supplements. And it was a 13-year journey. I literally tried everything. I tried every diet out there. I ate raw, I ate vegan, I was plant-based, I did microbiotics. I did it all. And then, I stayed away from all the foods that triggered me, which was very upsetting. Being an Italian, I love food. I love my food. I love my Italian food, but I wasn't able to eat any of it. And I was still having occasional flares. So I was doing all of these things. I was following all the diets. I was on all the supplements, but I was still having occasional flares. And through this, I was suffering from depression and anxiety. And I was feeling like a failure. So again, I knew there was something that I was missing because, again, I just knew. I'm like, God built our bodies to heal. Like, what am I missing? And then I started paying attention to, like, what causes inflammation in the body. And it's, the food that you put in, but then it's also stress. Well, I feel like, sometimes you're so used to being stressed, you don't even realize that you even are. So I started focusing on my mind, body, and spirit. So with my mind, I started really listening to my thoughts, like my subconscious, and I started reprogramming those thoughts. And again, really getting in tune to myself and paying attention to what those thoughts were, and learning how to calm my mind, like through meditation. And then also choosing to look at life differently and not looking at life in a negative way, but looking at it more positively. And then focusing on my body, like putting the right foods into my body that actually heal. I was tracking my inflammation levels. I teamed up with a really good doctor, and every 3 months I was, seeing where my markers were, just to make sure that what I was doing was working. And then it was really, connecting with my body and paying attention to how it was responding to all of the things that I was implementing. And then also, spirit. So remembering and learning who I am and where I came from. Listening to my inner guidance system. Working through emotional trauma. And then this is like the biggest one, is learning how to let go. Again, I'm going to bring up my Italian heritage again, but Italians, at least my Italian family, I was not taught how to let go of things. We're very strong. Everybody holds grudges. Forgiveness is really, you don't forgive. You kind of forget. You push aside and you forget, and you just kind of move on. So I thought, like, learning how to let go. Like, if you could teach an Italian how to let go, like, this would be amazing. So that really helped me the most, was just really learning how to let go of things. So what I learned is that everybody has the ability to heal. And it really is mind, body, and spirit. It's like all of it together. It's not just one of the things. It's really working with all three. And I'm extremely grateful for my journey. I'm now healed, and I can eat all the foods I love again. And I get to teach this to others. And this is why I know, like, I was meant to take that journey. Like, there was a reason. There was a reason why I didn't get that next, that instant healing. I mean, I even tried. I would sit there and, sit in meditation and be like, come on, God, you did it once, like, let's do this again. But I definitely had to learn the whole process. So I could now teach others. So I think I did mention, I do help people with inflammatory bowel disease, and I'm actually running a free digestive reset challenge, which is coming up in about a week. So if anybody's interested, it's thegutresetchallenge.com. Anybody could do it. So if you feel like that's interesting to you, and does anybody have any questions? Yes.
Thank you for sharing your story, and very grateful that you took time to really, dive deep in prayer, connection to God, into the universe, to know that there's other ways to heal. They obviously don't teach us. I'm also healed from Crohn's disease.
Oh, awesome.
Basically, everything shared. So,
oh, that's wonderful.
Not the easiest journey. Thank you for going through it. Ones who are still going through it.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Anybody else?
Again, I do appreciate your openness and sharing some things that were difficult. Sure. But my question for you then is it, and I appreciate your perseverance, because it sounds like when you first sat down and said, okay, God, Shazam, heal me like you did when I was 20, that didn't happen. How long did it take till you kind of figured out what you needed to do to maximize your well-being? When was that process?
So it was 13
That
years.
was the 13 years.
It was 13 years of trial and error. It doesn't mean it takes everybody 13 years, but again, I was meant to really, I had to do all the work.
Yeah, well, thank you for your perseverance and exemplifying that, whether it's Crohn's disease or anything else. Parents.
Yeah, I look at it all the same. I look at disease all the same. It's just where it decides to manifest. Yes.
I have a grandson who has it, and I missed. What is the .com?
I'll give you a bookmarker with my information on it.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah. Yes.
Goes back to the saying and those who help themselves. Sometimes you can just get they'll help you, but then you also have to help for solutions and not just sitting for pitiful needs. You know,
Yeah.
and you have to persevere and not have a pig. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Rise up.
Well, right. And with both my situations, it was like, I didn't want it anymore. You know, I mean, even with my first healing experience, it was like, it was that surrendering part to just, you know, I don't want this anymore. You know, so it's taking those steps to wanting, you have to want it. You have to want to get better. You want to have, you know, you want to feel better.
We have another question.
Okay.
So thank you very much for sharing. And I'm just wondering to what extent you think that now that you went through this 13-year process, you kind of found what it takes to deal with Crohn's disease, and that other people who have it are going to be able to do pretty much the same thing and be cured of it in pretty short order? Or do you think that everybody in their bodies are different and that other people are going to have to go through somewhat of a trial and error process that might take a while, and that it just isn't a solution that can be transferred to a bunch of them?
So that's a great question. Okay. So, I mean, I definitely believe everybody has a different healing journey. You know, it's finding people who can help. Like, you know, again, I help those now that are looking to heal. So it's looking for the proper guidance. You know, and that's kind of what happened with me. It was like when I started the journey and you open up to the path being led for you, I mean, people just come into your life and things start happening. A book you might pick up and like learn from it. So I feel like everybody's path is different, but you know, again, if you know, I don't know, did that answer your question?
So you're saying that it's somewhat interesting that the principles that you learn can help other people, but also people are different. They each have to go through their own.
Absolutely. And you have to do the work, you know, so again, I can help people, you know, organize, you know, what would be best for them. But, you know, at the end of the day, I just help guide, but you actually, you know, are doing the work.
We have a few more questions.
I just have to say, Zoomers did say they would love the bookmark too.
Okay.
Okay.
It'll be in the newsletter for sure.
Okay.
But if you need it sooner, you can contact me. Well, anyway, I'm sorry, I don't know how to do it. Okay, we got a lot of questions here. Wow. Anne Marie?
You said that you deal with helping people with Crohn's disease. Is it primarily that, or are you working with other applications?
Yeah, I could work with anybody.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Okay, anybody?
I had
Carol?
a question, bouncing off of what Kathy said about being perseverance and everything. It's that plus trusting.
Mhm.
And I mean, you put your trust in God to help you through this process,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and that's a big part is you have to trust not just God, you have to trust yourself and have the confidence and I should say the self-confidence in knowing that, you know what, I can do this and I'm not a failure and this is what I want and full steam ahead. I mean, I think that's a lot of what it takes. And with what Dale said too, is who you are will take you on your journey, like you said, on how well you are self-confident in doing this and how much you trust and how much you get that self-talk out of your head
Mm-hmm.
on the negative stuff and just focus only on the positive, because like a magnet, positive will bring positive, negative brings negative, and as long as you get yourself in it together, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
I feel.
Yeah, absolutely. That's 100%. 100%. Yes.
I think you are a beautiful example of when you overcome your obstacles and create alchemy and it turns into your.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Well, we got one more. If anybody else have any other questions, anyone? Okay, Dave.
Have your kids heard your presentation before?
No, this was the first time.
Oh, okay.
I did go through my slides with them. So, but yes, this was the first time. This was actually my first time sharing this publicly. So.
Well, thank you so much, Melissa. That was wonderful. Okay. So you can hit stop. To usher in our time of healing, truth, and messages from Spirit, please rise for our next song.